When someone hears the phrase, "everything changes on June 30, 2025, their first instinct is to look outward. They ask, what event is coming? Will something happen in the world that I need to be aware of? Is there a sign I must look for? A storm, a revelation, a miracle, a collapse? But this is the pattern of a mind that has not yet been trained to see clearly. In the world of internal cultivation and spiritual discipline, the teaching is always the same. Nothing moves on the outside until the movement begins on the inside. Transformation never starts in the sky. It starts in the soul. People are always searching for meaning outside of themselves. They want signs in the heavens, shifts in society, movements of governments and economies. They want outer earthquakes to confirm inner discomfort. But those who walk the path of awareness know that the true revolution is always internal. If you want to be prepared for a date marked by divine significance, you must prepare not your calendar, but your consciousness. June 30, 2025 is not a magical date simply because God said so. It becomes powerful because of the alignment between divine intention and human readiness. It is an opportunity, a window, and like every opportunity given by the universe, it has one condition. You must be awake enough to recognize it. That means the first preparation is not about what you do, but how you see. Not about changing your schedule, but about shifting your state of being. The shift begins in silence, in stillness, in observation. Most people live in noise. Their minds are never quiet. Thoughts bounce like pebbles in a metal box, constant, sharp, reactive. They do not know how to rest in presence. They only know how to move, how to search, how to chase. But when a divine moment approaches, it does not shout, it whispers. And if your inner world is too loud, you will not hear it. To become ready for a day when everything changes, you must begin to develop the ability to be still. Not physically still, but internally anchored. In stillness, you can see the currents of your thoughts. You can witness your desires, your fears, your automatic patterns. And only through this observation can real transformation begin. The one who is not aware of his own conditioning is controlled by it. And if your inner world is under the control of fear, chaos, or distraction, then even when God opens the heavens, you will remain blind to it. That is why nothing moves until the inner world shifts. You may want to run toward your goals. You may want to rush toward the new season. But the wise do not run. They refine. They take their time to shape the soil of the soul so that when the seed of destiny drops, it finds fertile ground. What good is a day of divine change if your heart is not ready to receive it? What good is a cosmic alignment if your thoughts are still wrapped in scarcity and doubt? Many people will reach June 30 the same way they reached the day before, with a distracted mind, a heavy heart, and unclear intentions. They will say, nothing changed. But it is not because God lied. It is because they were not aligned. The universe does not withhold blessings, but it will not pour into a vessel that is closed. If your inner world is filled with resistance, then the flow of transformation cannot enter. You must become open. You must become empty enough to receive. Emptiness is not a lack, it is a readiness. It is the state of the beginner, the student who comes with nothing in his cup so that the teacher can pour. Most people come with a full cup, full of opinions, full of judgments, full of expectations. But the divine cannot fill what is already overflowing with ego. So if you wish to meet June 30 as a moment of profound change, you must first empty yourself of what no longer serves you. This requires courage. It means letting go of stories you've told yourself for years. It means releasing identities you've clung to for safety. It means stepping into the unknown, trusting that what is coming is better than what is leaving. But most people fear the unknown, and so they hold on to pain just because it is familiar. They live in loops, not because they are trapped, but because they refuse to walk out. The key was always in their hand, but comfort is a seductive jailer. Shi Heng Yi speaks often of the necessity of awareness. Without it, nothing is possible. You cannot change what you do not see. You cannot release what you do not recognize. That's why the inner world must be cultivated like a garden. You must take time to sit with yourself, not just in meditation, but in radical honesty. What is growing inside me? What seeds have I allowed to take root? Are they seeds of fear or faith, of love or resentment, of clarity or confusion? This self-inquiry is the beginning of all change. No master ever walked into transformation without first walking into his own mind. No monk ever reached enlightenment without passing through the shadows of his own thoughts. That's why spiritual preparation is not about rituals, it is about self-awareness. A clear mind is the highest altar, a disciplined heart is the most sacred prayer. So the real question is not what will happen on June 30. The real question is, who will I be on June 30? That version of you, the one that is aligned, grounded and awake, that version already exists. But it must be revealed through your discipline, through your choice. You must remove what is not you in order to uncover what is. The external world may bring signs, there may be events, changes, movements, but all of those are secondary. The primary shift is in the energy you carry. If your energy is chaotic, you will experience disruption. If your energy is clear, you will experience elevation. That is the law of resonance. The world responds not to what you want, but to what you are. So in the days leading up to this shift, spend less time watching the news and more time watching your breath. Spend less time reading predictions and more time reading your emotions. Spend less time worrying about the future and more time healing the past, because only a healed past can walk confidently into a divine future. Only a quiet mind can hear the next instruction from God. This kind of preparation cannot be faked. You cannot cheat your way into awareness. You cannot pretend to be ready. The energy you carry speaks louder than your words, and when the moment comes, it will find you exactly where you are. The preparation is not a performance, it is a process, a deep internal refinement. Maria Vivette. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. The world teaches you to hustle, to push, to strive. But in the spiritual realm, stillness is strength. The calm warrior is more dangerous than the panicked one, because he does not react, he responds. He does not chase, he attracts. He does not fear change, he becomes it. This is your training ground now. These days before June 30 are not idle. They are sacred. They are the furnace where your old self is being burned away and your new self is being shaped. Every challenge you face right now is part of that refinement. Every delay, every disappointment, every discomfort, it is all part of the divine sculpting process. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. And just like the master watches for the perfect moment to strike the gong, so too must you develop sensitivity. Learn to feel the moment, to sense the subtle, to recognize the inner shift before the outer shift arrives. That is the mark of one who is truly aligned. They do not need proof, they already know. They do not need to be told, they already feel. This inner sensitivity is not something taught in books. It comes through presence, through discipline, through the silent commitment to evolve. If you have been called to this message, it means your soul already knows what is coming. Your intuition already feels the wave approaching. The only question now is, will you ride it or be swept by it? Everything changes on June 30. Not because the world will turn upside down, but because you will. Because your internal compass will point in a new direction. Because the layers of illusion will fall. Because you will no longer carry what does not belong to your highest self. But for that to happen, the shift must begin today. Not with an event, but with a choice, a breath, a moment of truth. Start now. Start with awareness. Start with silence. Train your inner world to be a vessel that can hold the power of what's coming. God is not sending change to impress you. He is sending change to awaken you. And only those who have cultivated stillness will recognize the sound of that awakening. So sit, breathe, observe, let go. Train not to react to the world, but to respond from your essence. This is not about predicting the future. It is about preparing for it with presence. The shift is coming, but it will begin in you, as it always has, as it always must. When someone says, everything will change on June 30, 2025, most people wait for that day with anticipation, even excitement, hoping that a shift will arrive like a lightning bolt, sudden, powerful, transformational. But the wise, those who walk the inner path of awareness, know that no date on the calendar has power on its own. A date becomes powerful only when it aligns with a decision. Time itself is not your savior. Divine timing is nothing without deliberate action, and without a shift in your will, your behavior, your alignment. June 30 will be just another day passing by, lost in routine, blurred by distraction, and empty of impact. Shi Heng Yi often says that every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you wish to become. What kind of person are you becoming through your decisions right now? That is not a small question. That is the core of your path. We speak of transformation as if it is something that happens to us. But transformation is not something given, it is something allowed. The universe does not force you into awakening. God does not push you into alignment. These things are offered, but never imposed. What this means is simple, and yet hard to live. The future is created not by events, but by decisions. It is not fate that changes you. It is you who changes your fate by choosing, moment after moment, to respond with wisdom, to act with discipline, to speak with clarity, and to think with awareness. So when we say everything changes on June 30, the real meaning is this. On that day, the decision you make about who you are and what you carry forward will determine the world you walk into next. There are those who will arrive at June 30 hoping that life itself will change for them. They believe that destiny works like magic, that the storm will pass and the sun will shine, and their pain will be erased without effort. But this is not how transformation works. God may open a door, but you must walk through it. The sky may clear, but you must step out into the light. Destiny may call, but you must answer. And that answer is not given with words. It is given through action, through alignment, through truth. The truth is that change does not wait for comfort. It does not wait until you feel ready. Change arrives when it is time. And if your decisions are not in harmony with that time, you will be left behind, not as punishment, but as a natural consequence of misalignment. The wind moves only those who are not rooted in fear. The wave lifts only those who have learned how to float, how to release. So the real preparation for June 30 is not passive waiting. It is active decision-making. You are either choosing your path with intention or drifting in the illusion of control. What are you deciding to carry into the next season of your life? That is a question you must answer now, before June arrives, before the opportunity becomes reality. Every decision you make today is planting the seeds of what you will harvest tomorrow. If you decide to stay bitter, you will not find peace. If you decide to remain distracted, you will not receive direction. If you decide to hold on to the old story, you will not write a new one. You must choose, and you must choose consciously. The Shaolin path is one of conscious action. Nothing is done without awareness. Every breath, every movement, every gesture is an expression of inner intention. That is why monks spend years mastering simple movements, because they understand that mastery over the body begins with mastery over the mind. And mastery over the mind begins with clarity in decision. If you cannot command your thoughts, Your thoughts will command you. If you cannot decide who you are becoming, the world will decide for you. This is the spiritual danger of waiting for change instead of preparing for it. You become a leaf blown by the wind rather than the tree rooted in purpose. You become a prisoner of hope instead of a creator of destiny. And the more you delay decisions, the more you feed confusion. The moment you decide, truly decide, the mind becomes still, the heart becomes focused, the soul becomes aligned. But indecision is like fog. It hides the path, blurs the vision, dulls the will. There is no transformation without decision, and there is no decision without discipline. Most people avoid decisions because decisions require responsibility. They don't want to choose because choosing means they must now act in accordance with what they say they want. It's easier to say, I hope things get better, than to say I will do what is necessary to become better. But nothing real changes through hope alone. Hope is the seed, yes, but discipline is the water, action is the sunlight, repetition is the soil. When you hear that everything will change on a specific date, don't get lost in the myth of timing. Get focused on the truth of commitment. Time is neutral. It gives itself to everyone equally. But your commitment is not neutral. It determines what you extract from the flow of time. A person who walks with purpose can do more in a day than someone lost in distraction can do in a year. So ask yourself, am I moving toward my purpose? Or am I just moving? The decision you must make is not just about goals or achievements. It is deeper. It is a decision about identity. Who am I becoming? What am I no longer willing to tolerate in myself? What am I ready to shed, to release, to purify? These are sacred questions, and sacred questions require stillness to answer. The world will not pause to let you hear yourself. You must create that silence. You must build that space within, where your highest wisdom can rise. The power of June 30 is not in the calendar. It is in the clarity of those who use that moment as a line in the sand. This is the day I leave behind the false self. This is the day I release the identity I have outgrown. This is the day I stop apologizing for my truth. This is the day I stop asking for permission to evolve. These decisions are not loud. They are quiet, but they change everything. Because when you shift internally, the external world can no longer hold you in the same patterns. The people around you may not understand the changes you make. That is not your concern. Growth is often invisible at first. The decisions you make in silence, in solitude, in sincerity, those are the decisions that rewrite your life. You do not need anyone's validation. You need your own integrity. You need to be able to look into your own eyes in the mirror and say, I chose this path because it is true to me. This kind of decision cannot be made from the mind alone. It must come from the alignment of mind, body, and spirit. You must feel it in your breath, in your posture, in your energy. You must walk like someone who knows what they have chosen. There can be no half-hearted steps in sacred transformation. The universe does not respond to uncertainty. It responds to alignment. Shi Heng Yi reminds us that life does not give us what we want. It gives us what we are. You must become the person who naturally receives the life you desire. And to become that person, you must decide. Not wish, not wait, not whisper. Decide. Let your decisions be your declaration. Let your choices speak louder than your doubts. Let your consistency overcome your fears. As June 30 approaches, many will hope for external shifts. But those who are truly awake will create internal shifts. They will decide who they are now. They will commit to shedding what is not aligned. They will train their minds to focus, their bodies to obey, their emotions to stabilize. They will not wait for miracles. They will prepare for them, because they understand that miracles are not random. They are received by those who are ready. This readiness is built day by day. It is built through small, disciplined decisions. Every time you choose presence over distraction, you prepare. Every time you choose integrity over impulse, you prepare. Every time you choose truth over convenience, you prepare. These are the decisions that lead to alignment, and alignment is the only way to meet a divine moment fully awake. You cannot fake readiness. The energy you carry reveals everything. If you walk into June 30 with unresolved bitterness, the door may open, but you will hesitate. If you carry unprocessed fear, the gate may appear, but you will shrink from it. So the time before that day is your sacred preparation. Use it wisely. Reflect, choose, release, build. These are not passive acts. They are acts of deep spiritual power. Your decision is your preparation. Your decision is your alignment. Your decision is your invitation to God, saying, I am ready now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. I am ready to walk through whatever door you open. I am ready to release the version of me that was only meant for survival. I am ready to step into the self that is meant for creation, for contribution, for truth. You have heard the call. That means your soul is ready. But hearing is not enough. You must respond. And your response must be action. Not just external action, but internal shift. Train your attention. Train your breathing. Train your response to discomfort. These are not minor practices. These are the building blocks of spiritual transformation. Everything can change, that is true. But nothing will change unless you decide. Decide now. Decide daily. Decide with every breath. And let your decision be stronger than your fear. Let it be more consistent than your doubt. Let it be so clear that the universe has no choice but to align with it. Because that is how destiny responds. Not to those who wait, but to those who are ready. There is a moment in every journey when the path becomes silent and the world outside seems to pause. It is not the silence of stillness, but the silence before revelation. This moment cannot be seen by the eyes or heard by the ears. It is felt deeply, like a whisper from the soul rising through the body. And it says very clearly, everything is about to change. This is not a warning, it is a calling. And those who are tuned to that inner frequency know that this moment is not just coming, it is already unfolding within them. They feel it not in their thoughts, but in their energy. They sense it not as fear, but as preparation. They are being made ready for something greater, something they have prayed for in silence, something their soul has known long before their mind could understand it. On June 30, 2025, many will look outward and see nothing unusual. The world may continue in its rhythm, the sun will rise, the day will begin. But there are those who will not be watching the world. They will be watching their own consciousness. For them, this is not just a day on the calendar, it is an internal appointment, a moment when what they have carried quietly in their heart begins to manifest into form. It is not the world that changes. It is their inner readiness that reaches critical mass. What was once hidden becomes seen. What was once hoped for becomes known. What was once waited for begins to arrive. And this shift, this sacred turning, is not loud. It does not announce itself with thunder. It arrives gently, like breath. But once it comes, nothing within them remains the same. To understand this level of transformation, one must understand the law of inner ripening. Seeds do not sprout the moment they are planted. They require warmth, pressure, patience, and faith. The same is true of spiritual evolution. There are things inside of you right now that have been growing for years in the unseen. Lessons, gifts, strengths, a deeper sense of purpose. These are not developed in public. They are cultivated in solitude, through your tears, your questions, your nights of silence. And when the time is right, they emerge, not because you forced them, but because you became aligned with their season. This is why spiritual growth is not linear. You cannot predict it with logic. You cannot rush it with impatience. You cannot manipulate it with ambition. It blooms when you have matured enough to carry it. Many people say they are ready for a new chapter, but still carry the fear of the old one. They say they are ready for truth, but still live in reaction to lies. They say they want peace, but continue to entertain what disturbs their spirit. Readiness is not a statement. It is an energetic condition. It cannot be faked. It cannot be pretended. You are either in alignment or you are not. This alignment is not just mental. It is total. Your thoughts, emotions, body, and breath must all begin to move in unison. And that requires training. That is the purpose of a spiritual path. Not to escape life, but to become so rooted in presence that you are no longer shaken by its storms. To become unshakable is not to avoid change. It is to meet change with the posture of wisdom, to stand as a mountain stands, not because it resists the wind, but because it understands. The wind cannot move what is anchored in truth. So when we say everything changes, we must ask, what is changing really? It is not just your circumstances. It is not just your opportunities. What is changing is your frequency, your capacity, your clarity. What is changing is the part of you that used to shrink when called upon, now stepping forward. What is changing is your relationship with yourself. And when that changes, everything else must follow. The world cannot continue to reflect the version of you that no longer exists. And so the shift happens in relationships, in purpose, in decisions, in direction. This change is not always comfortable. In fact, it is often marked by discomfort, because the old self must be released. And the old self does not leave quietly. It clings, it negotiates, it whispers fear, it tells you to go back. But you cannot go back. Not because someone is forcing you forward, but because your soul has outgrown its shell. The caterpillar does not choose to become the butterfly. It is the only way to stay alive. And so it is with you. This transformation is not optional. It is essential. You have reached the edge of who you used to be, and now you must fly. There will be resistance, not from the divine, but from within. You will be tempted to doubt what you know, to delay what you feel, to question the timing. But remember, divine timing is never late, and it is never convenient. It arrives exactly when you are ready to surrender. Not when you want to control, not when it fits your plan, but when you are humble enough to let go of what you thought you needed, and strong enough to receive what your soul truly desires. This moment is coming for many, and it will not come with warning bells or flashing signs. It will come through quiet intuition, through subtle nudges, through a deep knowing that says, it is time. And the ones who hear this are not special, they are simply present. They have trained themselves to listen, to feel, to trust. They have spent years saying yes in silence, and now the answer is being returned to them in the form of alignment. Alignment is not ease. It is precision. It means your actions reflect your essence. Your words reflect your wisdom. Your choices reflect your calling. That is the measure of growth. Not how much you know, but how much of what you know you live. Are you living the truth you say you believe? Or are you still negotiating with your fear? These are questions only you can answer. And the answers are not intellectual, they are energetic. The body knows, the breath knows, the spirit knows. But the mind must quiet down long enough to hear. This is why training matters. You must train not just your body, but your attention. You must train yourself to sit in the presence of discomfort without running, to stand in the fire of transformation without seeking escape, to breathe through uncertainty without collapsing into fear. This is the path of the warrior. Not the one who fights others, but the one who masters himself. The one who can face his own illusions and say, I release you now. You served me once, but I no longer need you to survive. When that inner declaration is made, something shifts. And the shift is irreversible. You cannot unsee what you've seen. You cannot unknow what you felt. You cannot return to the version of you that existed before this knowing. That's why transformation is sacred. It is not just change, it is the death of falsehood and the birth of essence. It is not just improvement, it is awakening. Many will feel this awakening as we approach June 30, not because the date is magical, but because their inner season has reached maturity. What was once sown in silence is now bearing fruit. And yet even in this season of arrival, there is responsibility. The responsibility to remain anchored, to remain humble, to remain in alignment. Because the moment you think the work is done, you begin to drift. And the moment you drift, you lose the thread of divine timing. So walk carefully now, not with fear, but with reverence. You are walking on sacred ground, the ground of your own becoming. Every step must be intentional. Every breath must be conscious. Every word must be true. There is no room now for pretending. The season of pretending is over. This is the season of embodiment. You must become what you have prayed for. You must embody the clarity you sought. You must live the discipline you admire. You must walk with the posture of someone who knows their time has come.